Let's throw some jabs.
The fight starts now!
Well, Sergio, it has been a year and a half since Jermall Charlo has been in a boxing ring, but the middleweight champion says he is ready to return. Charlo took to social media this month and indicated he plans to defend his 160-pound title in June. Sergio, a June return would mark 2 years since Charlo has seen live action. He's still a big name, but can he be a top fighter again in either the 160 or the 168-pound division?
At 160, definitely, because, he's already been there. He can fight an aging, older Golovkin. He can fight one of these, younger champions. A fight with Janibek will prove a lot that he's the big dog, but it's an open division. At 168, I think he could carry that weight because he is 6'1.5". He does have those wide shoulders. He has that long reach. So he can fill out that weight without being a little flabby. He can look good. I think he can compete, but I don't think he can beat fighters like Canelo or Benavidez. I think he can compete with Caleb Plant. I don't think he beats him either. So at 160 is still going to be his weight, and I think once he gets his fights under his belt, he starts getting that confidence. The power's not going to go anywhere. Power doesn't fade. Confidence doesn't fade. So once he gets some knockouts in his belt, yeah, I could see him moving up and doing real well at 168.
Yeah, but Sergio, the power hasn't really been there at 160 pounds. His resume at middleweight is paper thin. I mean, it has been 6 years since what you would call his last quality win. That was a 154-pound fight against Julian Williams. Since then, it's been a string of lesser fighters, with Sergey Derevyanchenko being the best of the bunch. His last fight against Juan Macias Montiel, that was a decision where he didn't look good at all in that fight. I have a lot of doubts about Charlo's ability to get back to the top level at either weight class. I have doubts that he'll want one of the fights that are available to him at 160 pounds. I mean, Sergio, how long did we try to get a Charlo fight against Demetrius Andrade? I lobbied for that fight for years, and it never actually happened. You're telling me now that Charlo's going to get into the ring with Janibek, that he's going to fight someone like Erislandy Lara, that he's going to fight someone or whoever emerges with the IBF title down the line? I don't think so. I think he's going to have to go to 168 pounds if he hopes to make any real money. And there, like you said, you've got the Benavidez, you've got Canelo, you've got some really good guys at 168 pounds, and Charlo, 33 years old, is he going to be able to make an impact at that weight class? I just don't see it. I mean, look, he was a great 154-pounder, but ever since he moved up, he has not had that same spark to his game, and I don't believe after 2 years off, he's going to be able to get it back.
Well, look, whenever a fighter loses fans or starts losing his image, that's when he gets the hunger back. So it all depends if Jermall Charlo gets his hunger back. That's it. It all comes down to what does he have left? He probably doesn't even know, but when he comes back, he's going to want to prove it. Every fighter goes through that, so usually it takes a loss. Jermall Charlo is undefeated. Now people are still they're questioning his resume, you included. So he's going to want to prove a lot of people wrong, a lot of doubters wrong. And for him to become a champion once again is only going to give him more confidence. This game is all about hunger, confidence, and making a lot of money. He made a lot of money, hence why he's not as hungry as he used to be. He already shut a lot of mouths. Now it's time to do it again. So I favor him to do that because he's done it once. He knows what the route is to get back on top, and he has the size.
Yeah, but Sergio, were you able to get the hunger back in the second half of your career?
I got back to.
I mean, you lost it.
I got back to the World Championship. It just so happens that I did it at 37 years old. Charlo's in his early 30s. I think he has another go. I think he might have another go or two because he's undefeated still, man, and he has the right style matchup. There's no one that could compete with him at 160. At 168, it's a different story. I think he has another belt or two to win.
Look, he can potentially win another belt at 160 pounds. I mean, Gennady Golovkin will likely wind up vacating his WBA title as well, and you could make a fight between Erislandy Lara and Jermall Charlo. I don't know how much money is in there for it or prestige is really in that for it, but sure, he can become the unified champion at middleweight. But the question is, can he become a top guy at 160 or 168? And I guess in a division like 160, which right now is at the weakest it's been in years, he could become the top guy in that weight class. But the real glamour weight class, where the talent is at 168. And I have a hard time believing that after 2 years off, after 6 years of fighting guys on the second or third tier, that he's all of a sudden going to be able to get his mojo back and compete with David Benavidez or Canelo Alvarez or any of the other top names at 168. You actually think that? You think he can get to 168 and compete with the top guys?
Compete, but probably not beat. And when it comes to Charlo, he's just taking the Mayweather route, the PBC route. That Errol Spence, another great example of this. They're making a lot of money, so why take the chances if they don't have to?
Yeah, but it's
why
not
prove
Mayweather.
themselves?
It's not even Spence. You can't even say that though, Sergio, because Mayweather at the end, in his contract with Showtime, he was fighting twice a year. So people think he was off all the time. He wasn't. When he was at the end of his prime years, he was fighting twice a year on Showtime.
Nope.
The same thing when you talk about Errol Spence. He's been much more inactive as of late, but that's been due to injury. And when he does get back in the ring, he's fighting the top guys. We haven't seen Errol Spence against Terrence Crawford yet, but you can't say Errol Spence is not fighting at least a B-plus level fighter every time he gets in the ring. He's in meaningful fights consistently. That's the issue. Charlo going up against Montiel, that's not a big fight. Even Derevyanchenko, who was years removed from loss to Daniel Jacobs and loss to Gennady Golovkin, he wasn't the same guy. Objectively, I don't think Jermall Charlo is going to be able to get back to that high level he was at 154 pounds, not after the last 6 years that he's had.
That Derevyanchenko one was a convincing win for me. That's what did it for me with Charlo 160. And it's all about hunger. You and me can't go inside his heart and tell you how much he has left. So until he proves it when he gets back, we're going to judge him from there. I think at 160, he's still going to be a beast. Power doesn't fade. And as soon as he realizes that he still has that.
You talk about power, Sergio. Where's the power? Where is he showing the power at 160 at this point? Like when has he flashed that? He had power at 154. I'll give you that. But where have you seen the power at 160 pounds?
Well, maybe he'll mature once he comes back. I mean, he can only not.
There's a lot of maybes and ifs. Maybes and ifs.
If he knocks a couple of guys out, the power's there and the belief is there, and that's what it takes to be a champion again. The fact that you believe in yourself, and like we keep touching on, 160 is open. He can become a champion once again like that with 1 or 2 fights. That brings the swag back. Once you have that confidence, then you think you can knock out anybody.
I'll tell you what, though, Sergio, to keep that title, he should fight Carlos Adames, who has been waiting in line for that shot for, I think, over a year at this point. The WBC should do the right thing and order that fight as the mandatory right now and make sure that's the fight that Charlo takes in June. He beats Carlos Adames, who can pop, who can crack, who's a good fighter at 160. Maybe I'll have a different opinion, but right now, I just don't see the pathway back for Jermall Charlo to get to an elite level.
You just said the blueprint, how to get back. Adames makes perfect sense.